25 years old, you graduated college, you even did additional graduate school, and now you have a six-figure job and you're looking to buy your very first home. And as soon as you look into it, you realize that's impossible. You won't be able to buy a home. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about why home ownership has been unattainable for Gen Z and millennials. One of the main reasons home ownership has become unattainable for Gen Z and millennials is because housing prices have been wild. The average median home price was just reported to be $400,000.
When you buy a home in the US, there is a basic promise that home values will go up over time. And that is what you're seeing on this chart.
So between 2013 and 2023, housing prices have increased by 118%. But unfortunately, during that same period, between 2013 and 2023, wages have only increased 29%.
Wages have not kept pace with the increase in the cost of housing.
This is Michelle Dickerson. She studies
why it's become so hard for lower income and middle income people to become and remain.
The prices of homes has escalated over the last few decades much faster than actual incomes. So it is actually much harder for a millennial or a Gen Z to save up for a down payment to buy a home.
Wages are rising. They're not keeping up with inflation. Wage growth has been consistent with an about 4.5% inflation rate. Meanwhile, as of November 2022, inflation was at 7.1%. And Americans are feeling the brunt.
In 2024, the age of the average first-time home buyer was 38 years old. Compare this with 1980. During this period, the age of the average first-time home buyer was 28 years old. So between 1980 and 2024, the average age of a first-time home buyer has increased by 10 years, from 28 years old to 38 years old. Not only this, the cost of housing has drastically increased between 1980 and 2024. In 1980, the average home price was $45,000, whereas in 2024, the average home price is over $400,000.
Household income is exactly the national US median at that time. In 1972 money, about $10,000. Imagine, right? They want to buy a house. The median US home price at that time was about $29,000. That is about 3 times their income. And those numbers for 2022, median income, median home price. This house is more than 6 times this household's income. So that is what we're looking at.
In 1980, the median income of a home buyer was $25,000. So this is a little less than double the median home price in 1980, which was $45,000. The median income for a home buyer is $97,000, and the average home price is a little over $400,000. Average home price is about 4 times the amount of the median income of the home buyer. My parents and many of my peers' parents always joke that you should just go find yourself a nice little starter home. But little do they know that starter homes are becoming non-existent because the average home price is around $400,000. So there's no such thing as a starter home anymore.
A starter home used to be a smaller condo, a smaller space, and someone would upgrade maybe after 5 years as they get married or have a family and want to move. But now we're actually seeing that most people are buying their first home as a single family residence and really planning on staying in place.
America's home builders are making fewer of these kinds of units.
If you look at the number of single-family starter homes, those defined as being 1,400 square feet or smaller, we used to supply anywhere between 400 and 500,000 units a year.
Over the past decade, builders have put up less than 100,000 homes each year.
Six-figure income used to be the American dream. If I can make 6-figure, I can not only buy my wants, but can also buy my needs. This is not the case anymore. A lot of people making six figures are still living paycheck to paycheck. This is because wages are no longer keeping up with the price of living the past 50 years. Say if you're living in major metropolitan cities such as New York, LA, San Francisco, these cities are very expensive, and $100,000 will not get you very far. You're going to be paying over half of that income in your rent payment. Additionally, you still have to pay for your other living expenses, your utilities. You still have to eat. So that $100,000 gets eaten up very quickly.
According to the study, the average salary needed to live comfortably in a major city is $96,500 for one person and roughly $235,000 for a family of four.
Yikes.
I mean, I'm sure you get where we're going with this one, right?
Yeah. Yep, New York City is not average, of course. So researchers say a single adult needs to make more than about $138,000 to live. And remember, we're using broad quotes here, comfortably, because a lot of people are doing better on less, right? And a family of four needs more than about $318,000.
Middle class is becoming non-existent. Back in the day, you used to be able to graduate high school, not college, high school, and enter the workforce and get you a well-paying job, have a family, and buy a home. That was the American dream.
Before the 1980s, it was possible for a young person to graduate from high school, find a job that was a full-time 40-hour-a-week job with benefits that paid them enough for them to be able to buy a home.
Nowadays, if you only have a high school diploma, you're more than likely working a low-wage job. And in order to hopefully accomplish the dream of reaching the middle class, that you need to get a college degree. And those college degrees are expensive. For up-and-coming generations such as Gen Z and millennials, they are taught at an early age, in order to get a good job and to live a good life, you must go to college. Because if you don't, you will not be able to earn a livable wage, especially if you live in a big city. And in many situations, this is true. They don't tell you that going to college can also slow down you starting up your nest egg. This is because the price of college is rising at a faster rate than inflation is. Now, in order to achieve this better life, you're going to tens and thousands of dollars in debt.
The average student graduates with about $37,000 in student debt. Altogether, the U.S. has $1.5 trillion of it.
Undergrad, and then I was going to go to graduate school and get my PhD. I thought that I would get through it and then come out on the other side with a job and then be able to pay it off, but that did not go according to plan.
Gen Z and millennials are graduating college with tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and now they're starting an entry-level position whose wages have not increased since 2010. So guess what? It's going to be very difficult to buy a home when you're under those financial circumstances. The number one reasons millennials and Gen Zs cite for not being able to buy a home is because they have a lot of issues saving up for that down payment. I can see how this is a situation. This is because they're paying half of their paycheck in rent. And now they have student loan payments, which can range to be over $1,000. Combine these two together, now they're paying a lot of their income in just renting expenses and student loans. And hopefully they don't have credit card debt, because that's another major expense for a lot of people in Gen Z and millennials. Not only do they have to save enough for a down payment, they have to make themselves bankable individuals to hopefully buy that $400,000 plus house. So in order to qualify for that mortgage, banks want to see that you have a good credit score, you have a good debt to income ratio, and they want to see that you have reserves in the bank. Just in case you fall on a hard time, you're still able to pay this mortgage because you have money in the bank, just in case for emergencies. Banks were giving out $500,000 mortgages to people working as taxi drivers or bartenders. These poor lending practices is what led to the 2008 housing crisis. Another reason it's hard for people in Gen Z and millennials to buy homes is because there's a low supply of home firms. Not only this, they have to compete with private equity firms who are able to buy buy these homes in cash. If you're someone who's selling a home, you'll prefer to sell that house to someone who can pay all cash as opposed to someone who has a mortgage and has to go through all these steps of getting approval for that mortgage from the bank. Unfortunately, this dream of home ownership for millennials and Gen Z just seems unattainable, facing rising rent costs, rising housing costs, rising interest rates, rising inflation. These generations are entering the most expensive economy in modern history. Not only are home prices through the roof, interest rates are also through the roof. Interest rates now are roughly 7.5%. This has greatly increased 30-year mortgage prices. For comparison, in 2022, a mortgage that was $1,500 a month, in today's terms, it is now $2,200. This is because the interest rate has increased drastically.
Lower mortgage interest rate means lower monthly payments. So
in this situation, you're paying $700 more a month in that mortgage payment, which can be the difference in affordability for a lot of individuals. So if you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you're not missing any of my videos. The Dr. Investor is out.